This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 Chicago traffic update.
Traveling southbound on DuSable Lakeshore Drive, bumper to bumper from Michigan down to Chicago Avenue. Northbound jam from Roosevelt to Monroe. Downtown, an injury crash at Dearborn in Illinois. Now in Fox Lake, on Grass Lake Road, just east of State Park Road, there's a crash. The northbound tri-state stop and go from the Bishop Ford to Halstead with an accident now off onto the shoulder. Kennedy outbound 10 to the split, 15 in the express, 27 to the airport. Inbound on the Armitage entrance, word of a crash. O'Hare back in, 27, 16 of that in from the junction. Hike outbound 31 minutes to 390, inbound 48. Crawling from Wolf to First Avenue with a crash off onto the right shoulder. Now the Stevenson outbound at Pulaski, a fender bender off onto the shoulder. That's traffic. I'm Mary DeBadges.
Since you're listening to WCPT 820 right now, we know that you're someone with a social conscience who cares about our environment, our government, and our society. We're looking for the right person to tell our story to local businesses in the Chicago area. This is a part-time, salary plus commission sales position. WCPT 820 is proud to be an EEOC employer. Email your resume to jobs@WCPT820.com. That's JOBS@WCPT820.com.
Jackson Hewitt needs you to know 3 things about filing taxes this year. 1. There are thousands of dollars worth of new tax credits on the table. 2. You have to file for them to make sure you get the right amount. 3. A Jackson Hewitt Tax Pro will help track down every credit you deserve. Tax credits for being a parent, taking care of a parent, going to school, and so much more. You don't want to miss out on thousands. Jackson Hewitt knows that. Discover thousands in tax credits and get your biggest refund guaranteed. Learn more at jacksonhewitt.com.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez. From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing ass says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Happy Tuesday, everyone. It's a lot to talk about, and I know that there's so many issues that are top of mind for me as a mom with 2 kids in schools and public schools, one in a Chicago public school and one in a therapeutic day school out in the suburbs, meaning he has special needs and has a program that's designed for a lot of kids and young people like him. And it's interesting, we're getting these emails, with the requirements, with the suggestions for how to return to school. So I want to know where folks are today thinking about schools, and President Biden saying that he wants to keep kids in school. And I get that. The Mayor Lightfoot also, a lot of work being done to make sure that kids stay in school. And they're saying it's the safest place for kids to be. And at the other end of the whole conversation, the president of CTU and some of the other, and Stacey Davis Gates are talking about Paul Vallis's comparison for how many kids have died from COVID and how many kids have died from gunfire and violence. And it's, I get the comparison. I guess I get the comparison or putting that out there, except a lot of us are concerned with not just our kids getting sick, but continuing to spread this in our communities, in our families. And there's this 2 steps forward, 3 steps back sort of pattern that we are in right now, where we feel like, okay, we've taken the right steps. We're getting the numbers down when it came to COVID, and we were masking, we're social distancing. When we got the vaccination, we all started lining up for that, and then that started to sort of peter out a little bit. We didn't quite reach the numbers we had hoped by now, and now we have this surge, Omicron, which is much more transmissible, and people are worried, and teachers are worried. People are getting sick. More people are in the hospital. There are breakthrough cases, but still at this point, 85 to 90% approximately of the patients who are in critical care or coming down with severe symptoms are unvaccinated. But their viral load, for those who are vaccinated, will impact people and continue that spread. So where are you? How do you feel about this back and forth between CTU, the City of Chicago, and CPS? What are some of the guidelines you're reading? Any of the parents out there, let me know what kind of emails you're getting. Because we're getting some mixed messages because we do have kids in 2 different schools and 2 different school districts. We are getting, the suggestions from one school talking about, they are encouraging us to get vaccinated. They're reminding us of having conversations about masking, that they are going to be more strict about it, about social distancing and the number of kids in a classroom or in the cafeteria. Whereas the other school district that we are a part of, again, because Declan goes to a school for children who have disabilities, there isn't the encouragement, the same level of intention, I feel, when it comes to, hey, look, the best way to get through this and make sure our kids stay safe is vaccinations, because the kids that go to that school aren't as likely to maintain their mask wearing. And so, I worry about sending Declan back to school tomorrow. I don't know. He is fully vaxxed. His booster shot is recent, so he's not quite at the 10 days where that he'll have the entire protection of the booster shot. But I'm nervous. I'm nervous about sending him back. So 773-763-9278. That's 773-763-9278. The teachers we're still waiting to hear if teachers are going to have a walkout. And if they do, CPS has said they will cancel school tomorrow. So we're waiting for that information. If you hear something before I do, because I know some folks seem to get the early line on some of these stories. So if you hear something, let me know. And again, you're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez. I think I kind of came out of the gate with CPS on my mind. I'm like, let's get right to it, because we only have an hour. I was talking to somebody. They're like, right when we get into these great conversations, your hour's over. I am very much of the mind of leave them wanting more. That's how I like it. Plus, I work during the day. I have a full-time job, and then I have this, and I am so grateful for this hour with you. We'll talk maybe sometime. We'll figure it out down the road. But right now, I love having this hour with you. It gives us a chance to kind of get in there and get on topics. Once in a while, we have guests. We have some guests coming up later in the week, and I'm working on some guests for next week. But I prefer to have this as a conversation with all of you. And I am so grateful for the back and forth that we have. And whether it's on our text screen, so don't forget you can call or text to the same number, 773-763-9278. And our friends that watch the live stream on Facebook, the thing is, when I check in with our friends on the live stream, I often forget that my volume is still up, so you'll hear a little bit of the show coming back. So I'm always like, is the volume up on that? I have to turn my mic off. Here we go. So if you find that your the radio strength, the signal isn't as strong as it should be, or you can't hear it as well, don't forget you can always listen to our show live streaming on Facebook, as well as our webpage. You can go to heartlandsignal.com, and not just for the shows, all the great shows that you can listen to. If you miss something, you can go back and listen to those shows and follow some of the stories that our great news team is covering. And I know that they've been tweeting today. Ron Johnson just continues to, the depth of his ignorance. And do some of these folks, are they willfully ignorant? Are they leaning into their public persona of being jerks and jackasses? I'm just curious, because Ron Johnson has talked about natural immunity. And here's one of the quotes. He says, "Why do we think we can create something better than God in terms of combating disease? There are certain things we have to do, but we've just made so many assumptions, and it's all pointed toward everybody getting a vaccine." No, everybody trying to get as many people vaccinated as possible is not making assumptions. It's based on data. It's based on scientists, researchers doing the work, and knowing that a global pandemic was not only possible but likely. So people have not just all of a sudden popped up onto the scene to come up with solutions and try to save lives. They've been working on the possibility of a pandemic for decades. And I was just reading an article from 2019. Some policy wonks from all over the world got together, and I was reading in particular the focus on Canada and the United States and Mexico, and how we were going to have to figure out a way to have our emergency rooms communicating with each other, contact tracing, a lot of things that we are still catching up on. And that, look, there was never going to be, at least in the path at least on the path we were on before the pandemic, when it came to our healthcare system, we were not on a path to make sure that as many people would receive the care that they need in the event that we had a pandemic, and we are seeing that play out right now. And yeah, you know what? Most people would survive COVID. But there's a lot more involved than just surviving COVID. One, there's a long-term effects, which I don't think that we are addressing as fully as we should. And one, first of all, how is 826,000 people dying not significant to people? What was your is that your acceptable number? When does it start to become unacceptable? I don't understand that either. But 826,000 fatalities, more than 826,000. That's just in the United States. There's also the impact that it has on the ability of everyone having access to health care. Now they're discouraging folks from having their elective surgeries done. So that makes sense. What's hard are the places where there are no ICU beds, where if there is anything in the community that is catastrophic, a car accident, that's on an icy road, if there is a car pileup on their highways, they are not going to be able to take care of those people in the way that they would had there not been an oversaturation of COVID patients in their ICUs, in their emergency rooms. Right now, it's about 85 to 90% of those who are in hospitals, in ICUs, on ventilators. It's 85 to 90% are unvaccinated. And so the idea that Ron Johnson's like, I had COVID, and that's the other thing too. I had COVID and I'm fine. First of all, and they're making it sound as though now it's like a goal to catch COVID, and now I've got natural immunity to it. No, first of all, you can catch COVID again, and they are finding for those who catch it multiple times that your risks continue to escalate, and it can be more fatal in those who have contracted it previously. So that's the other thing. But the idea that you survive, so what the other 826,000 people or chumps, they somehow had it coming, and then the whole thing about what were their pre-existing conditions, as though they had it coming, as though whether it was whatever situation they had leading up to that, and a lot of health, again, this goes back to where we were, the path we were on before the pandemic hit, was a disproportionate amount of care that was available in different communities. It's unconscionable that a leader, I put in quotation marks, leader like Ron Johnson is encouraging people not to get vaccinated and invoking Christianity. That's the thing too, is that when you say religion, and people, that taps into a part of their identity, right? When you say, well, God made you able, gave you everything you need to survive a pandemic. You know what? God also gave people the ability to learn, to develop critical thinking, to understand facts. There are scientists out there, aren't those people who are given these talents from, wouldn't they be given talents from God, that they, went to the extra mile to make sure that they maximize the talents, the intelligence, the wherewithal? Isn't that part of God's creation too? Are people who find solutions? I'm absolutely mystified as to some of these concepts. Hi, Jim. How are you doing?
Hi, Patty. I hate to bug you, but first of all, this rate of 826,000 human beings is probably 30% higher. Anyway, the point is that Trump was insane enough to believe that Atlas and whoever came into the office, of course he was running for office, so he couldn't do whatever he wanted to do. He had to win this election, so it didn't matter how many lives it cost. My point is, how in God's name can the Republican Party claim that the Democrats released this from a lab in Wuhan to control them, by the way, and this is on 24 hours a day on all the radio stations.
Yep.
And Ron Johnson believes that by being the big, muscular nut that he is saying that the Democrats are the ones that want masks on and they want to wash their hands, and it's absolutely, you wouldn't even believe it. If somebody told me that I would live through this, I tell them, you're insane.
Oh, I know.
You're insane.
Yeah.
And one more thing. I don't look at the internet, but I have a friend that calls me. He called me about a week ago. He goes, "Oh, there's a woman on the plane. She was elected for $4, and she got 4 million hits." And I said, "Well, why? Because she's considerate?" I said, "Is that passé now? Could be considered as being passé?
Right.
Did we come to that? Did we come to that and that crossing the road?"
Yeah.
I mean, to hear Republicans over and over and over and over again gamble that this disease is going to go into the midterms, and somehow they're going to gain some kind of traction with people that don't believe the disease exists.
Oh, yeah. They don't believe it exists.
I mean, that has to be the strategy. It's absolutely mind-blowing. That's just mind-blowing.
Yep.
Anyway, Patty, you got a couple of maniacs on there. Thank you very much. Take care.
Take care, Jim. Take care. Let's come back and continue our conversation. There's a couple things. One, I want to come back and talk about something that Jim just mentioned, which is, whether or not we'll ever have the true death numbers, the death toll, because there is a lot involved in that. And also the actual number of positive cases now that we have so many take-home tests. Not everyone is self-reporting when they test positive. 773-763-9278, or when they test negative, either way. But, there's so much out there that I don't know how we'll capture the true numbers of what has happened over this pandemic. Give us a call to join the conversation, because it is your conversation. 773-763-9278. More in a moment with Driving It Home with me, your host, Patti Vasquez.
This is a potter's field. When people can't pay for their funerals, they are buried here. It is a lonely, desolate place, littered with unmarked headstones. No one visits. No one leaves flowers. But it doesn't have to be that way. For as low as $1 a day, you can ensure your family will have the money to pay your funeral expenses. We offer burial insurance plans that pay up to $30,000. Considering the average funeral costs more than $10,000, that's peace of mind for your family. There are no medical exams, your rates won't increase, and your policy cannot be canceled as long as you make your premium payments. Call now to get approved in minutes and ensure your final resting place is more than just a pauper's grave in a potter's field.
800-323-8137. 800-323-8137. 800-323-8137. That's 800-323-8137. Paid for by Final Expense Direct.
This is a WCPT Veteran Minute. After the death of his mother, John Clem enlisted to join the Union Army, but was rejected twice for his age and his height. But Clem did not let this stop him, as he tagged along anyway with the 22nd Michigan Infantry and was later made an honorary drummer boy at the age of 10. During the Battle of Chickamauga, Clem was almost captured by a Confederate colonel, but Clem was able to save himself by grabbing a sawed-off musket just in time to shoot the colonel and escape. After the battle, Clem was given the nickname the Drummer Boy of Chickamauga and was promoted as sergeant at just the age of 12 years old, the youngest ever. After being wounded twice, Clem accepted his discharge at the age of 13, and after graduating high school, President Ulysses S. Grant appointed Clem to lieutenant. Clem passed away in 1937 and is currently buried in Arlington National Cemetery.
You're listening to WCPT 820, because facts matter.
Just an old-fashioned gun law coming from the crazy GOP. Just an insane open carry, no permit needed, free-for-all gun law makes me so proud to live in Tennessee. Well, he's never been to Pittsburgh, but he's been to Mar-a-Lago. And when he visits Puerto Rico, he always brings some paper towels. In Arizona, they keep counting votes, but what does it matter? Ain't nothing sadder. Tucker told me Donald won. That's right. That's why MAGA threw
It's some Steve Goody with his 3 Dog Night, 1 Term Loser MAGA moron medley. You can go to stevegoody.com for more of Steve's music. That's GOODIE, stevegoody.com. And we were talking a little bit about what, if you heard the news too, what GOP, what the conservatives continue to cling to when it comes to their response in the midst of a global pandemic where millions of people have died, where we have an insurrection on our an attack, a terrorist attack on our Capitol. During the news, they were saying that 30% of conservatives who were asked about January 6th, they said it wasn't very violent. I just don't, and this goes to Jim's point about, what would it take? I would never in my wildest dreams think that we would be living in a time in history where you could show someone the truth, show video of cops being assaulted, beaten with flagpoles and tased, where you saw that one police officer nearly crushed in the doors of the Capitol, and they would say that it was just a field trip. They were taking selfies in front of the Capitol. What? Someone took a dump in somebody's office? That's what you do on a field trip. Man, I don't know where they went to school, but hey, Audrey, how are you doing?
Hi, Patty.
Hello.
So good to hear your voice again.
Aw, thank you so much.
See you because I just had eye surgery.
Oh no.
Yeah, the reason I had eye surgery is because I had scar tissue, and the scar tissue that I had was from having COVID twice.
Oh no.
Up to 10% of people that have COVID have lasting damage to their eyes or their ears.
Oh my God.
See? And I'm a nurse, Patty, so I get everything about this, okay? I'm not, these people going on about, well, I'm not going to get a vaccination. I'm not going to get a vaccination. I don't know what's in that. I'm not getting something that's brand new, blah, blah, blah. Well, first of all, it's not brand new. mRNA vaccines have been researched for 30 years. 30 years.
Yep.
They originally were trying to find vaccination for rabies. The reason that they never did anything with it is because, go figure, the pharmaceutical companies couldn't make money off of it.
Exactly. Yep.
And people don't get that. We live in America, the greatest nation on earth. So if you believe what some people say, but we're one of the only countries where the pharmacy companies, they're in charge of your medication. They decide what they're going to research. They decide what they're going to put on the market. They decide how much they're going to charge for it.
Yep.
And people don't get that.
Mm-hmm. So much of it is, so much of what healthcare we have access to, what's available to us, is based on, look, women and children are not taken seriously in a lot of these studies. It's starting to get better, but because you can't make as much money off of children because they grow out of it, or it's just there isn't as much of an investment in it. And for women, we're catching up because for centuries we were considered icky or too complicated, or it's just messy, and how do we take into account an ovary or a fallopian tube? That's just too much for me. So we're still catching up.
And every problem that women have is due to the fact that we're women.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've talked to people that, I don't want to, there are nurses, Patty, that I've talked to that are like, well, I don't want to get that vaccine. Why on earth not?
Yeah.
I believe in science, I would have, the first time I got COVID was like the day before, I was diagnosed the day before they rolled out the vaccine.
Oh, how frustrating.
The day before. And as a healthcare worker, I would have been one of the first people to get that vaccine. But,
right.
I got it the day before. I was in bed for literally 3 weeks, and I didn't have the respiratory issues. I couldn't put anything in my mouth without vomiting. I lost 20 pounds.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it was terrible. I really should have went to the hospital because I was dehydrated, but I'm a nurse, so I know better,
I know. Nurses can often be the worst patients. That's been my experience.
Always the worst because you know. So no one can tell you anything because
right.
You're a nurse. And the first time I got COVID, I had damage to my eyes. I knew this, and I got treatments for it, and I was doing better. And then I got COVID again.
See?
And after getting it once, I got it again. I also was vaccinated, and I fully believe that's why the second time I got COVID, it wasn't bad.
Right.
It wasn't bad. I had natural immunity and immunity from the vaccine. It was less than, a mild cold. So it was nice, I got some free time off of work. But the treatments that I got for my eyes basically did me no good once I got COVID the second time. Even though I didn't have the symptoms, it wasn't bad. I still had damage to my eyes.
What kind of treatment did they try giving you for your eyes?
Laser treatments. They and they're awful too. They're painful, and you have to be in bed for the rest of the day. My one eye stayed basically the same. It stayed stable, so I can just go and get corrective lenses and be fine. But the other eye, which was the good eye, got a lot worse. I couldn't drive at night. I couldn't, I had to take time off of work before I even went in for my surgery because I couldn't see the labels on some of the pill packages have little tiny letters. And I was terrified that I was going to make a mistake and hurt someone.
Oh, no.
So I had to get the eye surgery, but it's slowly getting better. I knew I was going to get one procedure, possibly going to get 3 other procedures, and I ended up having all 4 procedures.
Oh, my God. That's a lot to go through. It takes a toll on your body. When you're trying to take care of one thing, it can also move the trauma to other parts of you in recovery.
Yeah, it's not fun. But I'm not 100% blind. I'm only legally blind now, and just for a couple more weeks, probably.
Wow.
So I am thankful for one that we have come so far in terms of medical treatments and surgery, because 30 years ago I'd just be blind.
Right, that's the thing. That thankfully, there are some things we've advanced with, but we are attacking a pandemic that the likes of which we haven't seen in our lifetimes. So at least some of those elements of what we have to grapple with have foundation in the science, in the research that was done, as opposed to Ron Johnson saying, "Well, if you get the COVID, it's not that big a deal. You're natural." No, come on. There's so many different.
Ron Johnson is an idiot.
Yes, there we go. Put that on a clip for me. Ron Johnson's an idiot. I love it. That's from. You're in Indiana, is that right, Audrey?
I am in Indiana.
So you have your own gaggle of morons in Indiana.
Yeah, there's plenty of morons here. We don't have a mask mandate anymore, so when I go out, I just want to punch people, and I am not a mean person. It says on my Facebook profile, always on my picture, it says just be kind, because I truly believe that. But some people, it doesn't help to just be kind.
I know.
They're never going to get it.
We have to, but here's the thing. You lean into the cheerfulness. If you smile and you act kind, it still feels good, even though it's not going to take. At least, it's not taking the higher road. It's just like, I'm not, what? This is what I'm going to put out there. That's all I have. Hey, we all have our moments. But, no, I'm with you. Just try to be kind. Why can't we just be kind? I think you're absolutely right. Thank you.
It doesn't cost anything.
It doesn't.
So.
It doesn't. Well, it was kind that you called today, Audrey, and thank you for joining us. I know that you're part of my fun group on Facebook, and I appreciate I love hearing your voice.
Well, thank you. I love hearing your voice because I can't see you.
I'm here. I'll be here. And I look forward to you being able to see us again. Audrey. Take care. Get some rest.
Have a good day.
Thank you so much. Let's take a break here. Continue our conversation. When we come back, Audrey's one of our family on the members of our family on the WCPT Facebook page, where you can watch all the shows live streaming. Me, Santita Jackson. You've got Jonas Bazito's show on there. You can watch Tom Hartman. You gotta go. I'm not going to say the word again, Lady B, but I still think people need to go back and listen to that segment when Tom Hartman was talking about the possible side effects of COVID. There's a lot of them: eye issues, risk of infections, respiratory issues, heart issues. Let's talk about that when we come back. 773-763-9278 to join the conversation on Driving It Home with me, Patti Vasquez.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter. You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago traffic update.
Traveling through Elgin, heads up for a crash on Route 31 at Tollgate Road. In Park Ridge on eastbound Oakton at Sealy, there's a crash. In Niles on Greenwood Avenue at Golf, a wreck. Now in Oakbrook Terrace at Butterfield Road and Route 83, a wreck. On Chicago's north side at Paulina and Belmont, a car slammed into a building. Eden's outbound jam-packed up to Foster. Residual delays from an earlier accident. Kennedy out to the split 11, 15 in the Express, 28 to the airport. Inbound from O'Hare at a half hour, 16 of that in from the junction. Ike in down to a crawl, Wolf to Des Plaines, Paulina to the Burn. 390 on in at 38 outbound, just a half hour. The inbound Dan Ryan struggling from the Stevenson to the Burn. 95th on in, 28. That's traffic. I'm Mary DeBadges.
Discover thousands of dollars in new tax credits and your biggest refund guaranteed with Jackson Hewitt. Schedule an appointment with one of their tax pros to get a head start on your taxes. Go to jacksonhewitt.com to learn more and find a location near you.
Tonight, it's the premiere of 2 new comedies on NBC.
First, the comedy critics are calling the next The Office.
American Auto, starring SNL's Anna Gasteyer.
What are you doing to my car?
I'm stealing your hubcaps. It's fine. I'm the new CEO.
Then it's Grand Crew.
The comedy critics rave is this generation's Friends.
I'm gonna ask Alicia to marry me.
What? Seriously, dude? I've had almond milk in my fridge longer than you've been with Alicia.
American Auto and Grand Crew.
Premiere tonight on NBC.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
January 2nd, 2021, our lame duck president made a frantic and illegal call to election officials in Georgia, hoping to overturn the results in that state. Donald didn't realize that one of those officials happened to be Bob Dylan.
Surely you're gonna stop your whining, get it through your orange head. Donny boy, you lost it all. One term is all you get. Your lawyers tried to put together a case for you, cream puff. I know you don't like arithmetic, but 70 million isn't big enough. No, you can't stand it that we went with Joe. As case after case you lose. Can't admit your ass is toast as you tweet and tweet your blues. Poor little you. Hang it up, you're through.
By the way, I think that I think that the song written by Steve Goody, you can go to stevegoody.com, was written after January 2nd, before January 6th. So much happened in those. Wasn't that crazy? Was it on January? I think it was January 2nd. What does it say in this transcript here from Steve Goody? That on January 2nd he called.
On January 2nd,
he called. January 2nd. He was calling election officials in Georgia, saying, "Can't you just find some more votes for me and overturn this election?" Who would? I mean, like, that should have been the biggest story, only no. Okay. We were also talking about, hi, you're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez. Every once in a while, my head just spontaneously combusts, and I have to put it back together and form a sentence. We were talking about the COVID numbers. We are surging. The hospitals are overwhelmed. We have healthcare professionals who are at their wits' end with what to do. There are hospitals that will not be able to treat people who are coming in with heart attacks, strokes, that are in car accidents, have infections. I mean, anything could happen at any moment of the day, and if you're not not wrapped in bubble wrap, good luck getting to bed in some of the parts of Illinois, and it's even worse in places like Wisconsin, Indiana, Iowa. But there was a press conference today, and Dr. Awardy and Mayor Lightfoot were talking about their thoughts on when this might peak, because they are looking at they're looking at places like South Africa, which is where Omicron first erupted, but we're also dealing with Delta infections as well, with the Delta variant. So we have Omicron, which is incredibly transmissible. So they're looking at places like New York, other places of the world to see where this might peak, and they're thinking based on the information they're seeing coming out of other countries, other cities, is that they expect, I guess, that by the end of January that the COVID numbers will peak, which means that we're still going upward, and there are ways for us to stay safe, and that is by getting vaccinated, by masking even when vaccinated, making sure you wash your hands, stay socially distant, and you know what? To Audrey's point, being kind will also help us. Being kind and giving each other some grace when we are around each other, whether it's somebody working on the front lines or you see somebody with a mask on and it makes you angry because you just can't stand the sight of another mask for whatever reason. But just, give each other some kindness. Share some kindness. Be a kind human. Hi, Dave. How are you doing today?
Hey, Patty. Nice segue right into on the mask. I had mentioned this one on to Joan the other day, that this was last year already. Had gotten this where this lady had went to a doctor's office, whatever, and those masks they got there with the blue side one side and white side on the other, and I never really thought much either. Like her, that doesn't matter which way you wear it, but according to her, while at the doctor's office, she was informed by a nurse the proper way to use a medical mask was you were supposed to use it as follows: the colored side out if you're sick and do not want to spread your germs around. White side out, this is the filter part for when you're not sick and want to stop germs from getting in.
Okay.
And I was and that nurse said that the entire doctor's office never knew that either until the supplier sent them proper directions for them that past week, last year. And like I said, I mentioned that to Joan, but she just seemed kind of dismissive of it, saying, well, when she gets this one guy in, some medical guy, she might mention it. I'm not going to hold my breath. I don't think so. I'm just not, we got a couple of nurses that are friends out there, and, perhaps, they've heard of that. And, if not, that some of our people, anyway, that, spread the word,
Well, I think that what we do need to be aware of is that cloth masks, while is something and better than nothing, because of the high transmission rate of Omicron, because it is more, there are bigger spikes in the proteins, and I try to understand this. I am not a medical professional. I'm just trying, the things that I have read about the mutations, the spikes in the proteins and the deletions, and it make it more, it's attached itself to the cold virus, so it is easier to contract, and therefore, so I'm looking right now, because Reuters wrote a piece on the two-tone medical masks.
That she was talking about.
Yeah, their social media users have been sharing an image online that explains the difference between the blue and white side of the medical mask. Here, the claim incorrectly advises to have the colored side facing out if you are sick and the white side out if you are healthy. So apparently this may be the people who are even providing it. I mean, there are a million different ways in which people get their information, and then it becomes, even folklore becomes in someone's mind fact. So it's possible that someone was bringing in these masks, whether it was a distributor or, that story gets told. It's like telephone, and the next thing you know, it gets a hold in people's imaginations and then spreads on social media. So it seems as though that might not be definitively an accurate thing.
Okay, could be possible, but I often wonder why you got two different colors and not just have it white.
Yeah, so while the blue and white sides of a medical mask do serve different purposes, they don't need to be worn. They don't need to be worn according to one's COVID-19 masks. hold on, I'm trying to see. A co-director of the World Health Organization explains how to correctly wear a mask. You see it has a blue color on the outside. Now it's saying here that it's waterproof and the white side is absorbent. Now we're introducing a whole new set of elements to this conversation. but here's the thing.
Said that if you're sick, the blue side out, and if you're not, white side out. So.
Well, if one side's waterproof, like that seems like it would serve a different purpose too. Let's see. Does not. Yeah, there's a lot. Right. Because if you're, I don't know. This is a lot. Surgical masks. Now here's another person, spokesperson for 3M, right? The makers of a lot of these surgical masks, says surgical masks should be worn with the white cover web against the face and the colored side of the mask facing outwards. The verdict, users should use the inside of the mask, which is usually white. I don't know. It seems like there's a lot of different... See? I'm telling you. So it looks like there are experts who are saying that there are different components of the white side and the blue side. So there you go. There's no definitive.
But anyway, I would just figure to pass that on. It's, I guess it's better than no mask, right?
Well, and the surgical masks are, I think it goes N95, KN95s, and surgical masks, and then below that are the cloth masks. What I've been wearing are KN95s, and the other thing too is I will sometimes wear two of these. I just, you get things on different websites. There are ways you can Google and find out what are the certified KN95s. N95s are supposed to be the best for particles.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I remember back at last year at the beginning of it, I remember, was it Korea gave us like about 500,000 masks at one time, because we didn't have enough.
Oh yeah, I mean there was definitely a scramble to try to get hands on masks all over the country. There's a great story about Controller Mendoza and trying to purchase masks, and the guy, a lot of folks kept moving the goalposts when it came to the deals they were making with state entities. They were trying to get. They literally had to drive. There was a woman from the controller's office that had to drive, and the controller tells a story. You can probably find the audio somewhere about having to basically meet at a McDonald's parking lot and had to have the check by a deadline, otherwise he wasn't going to give us the deal on the masks. And I mean there was a lot of a lot of effort put into making sure that we could keep folks safe in Illinois and around the country.
Somebody made a lot of money.
I know, but I'm not that guy. You think about that, like people who made money and were somehow able to adjust and adapt and find ways, whether it's making money on social media and TikTok or, remember there were these guys that bought just pallets of hand sanitizer and then the hand sanitizer became available and they lost their shirts on this garage full of hand sanitizer because they thought they were being clever by hoarding it all. Yeah.
Okay, well, listen, let me get off. I'm sure you got some others. But anyway, I thought I'd share that, and we'll take it for what it's worth anyway. So
absolutely. Thanks so much for calling. Take care, Dave.
All right, be well.
You as well. When we come back, I have to make sure I address two things. One, I want to find out how you're doing with going. Did anyone go out to eat yesterday? And are you being asked to show proof of vaccination when you enter a restaurant? 773-763-9278. That's 773-763-9278. I want to talk about that. And if Don is listening, I need to make sure that Don's listening before I get into talking about 8-bit Christmas. So let me know, Don. You can call or text and let me know if you're listening. Because I was given an assignment by a listener. Do you remember what your assignment was? It was Meet John Doe, everybody. Mine was to watch 8-bit Christmas. So I want to talk about that when we come back. Even though it's after Christmas, it's still the holiday season. It's over when we say it's over. I'm going to hold on to Christmas a little bit longer. That, and I'm not ready to put my tree away yet. More in a moment.
A Better Life with Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
Is sleeping with your pet a good idea? I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, CNN's chief medical correspondent. I'll tell you that people have some pretty strong feelings about this. There are folks who say they would never even consider it, while others say, why not? Experts we talked to said it really depends on you and what kind of sleep you already get. If your dog or cat constantly wakes you up in the middle of the night, this is obviously going to mean you're not getting the restful sleep your body and your mind need. But for other people, sleeping in the same bed or even the same room as a pet can decrease stress and anxiety and depression and help them sleep better. If you're thinking about switching things up, experts say try a new setup for a few nights before you and your pet fall into a routine. If you've got insomnia or asthma or any kind of breathing issues, then sleeping with a pet probably isn't the best for you. I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, helping you live a better life.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Because facts matter. You're listening to WCPT 820.
We know you're not quick with opinions beyond your tight circle of friends, but that's why people listen whenever you choose to weigh in. You've been a clear voice of reason.
Just such great music from Chris Jones. You can go to chrisjonesgrass.com to hear more of his music and purchase one of his albums. That's Chris Jones and the Night Drivers, too. But wonderful music. And I want to just say hi to our friends who are also having their conversation on our Facebook page with the live stream. Go to WCPT 820's Facebook page. Like the page so you know when we go live and join all these great conversations. Audrey, who we talked to just a few moments ago, says if you can get shop towels, blue shop towels, the Toolbox brand is best, but you can use any brand of blue shop towels. You can cut them to a size where you can fold them in half and fit them in the pocket of your cloth mask. So a lot of cloth masks have a pocket, so it's putting in a sort of a filter. So fold it in half, and she says that those are almost as effective as KN95s. And yes, some folks, Karen's saying that the best masks are difficult to find these days. So definitely wear what you have, and above all, be kind to people when you're going into restaurants or you see other. We're kind of getting back to that space of not knowing how to be around each other. Hi, Roosevelt. How are you doing today?
Hello, Patty. How are you doing? Thank you for taking my call.
Of course, I'm glad to take your call.
Hey, listen, I want to continue talking about COVID, mask, no mask, and all that. What I find interesting is you got history's repeating itself. What I mean is that the numbers are going up all over the place because you got people like DeSantis. Did you see where DeSantis said that he basically said the same thing that Trump said? Too much testing.
Oh,
Remember when Trump said,
yeah. If you just stop testing people, COVID goes away, apparently. Yep.
So these guys, when they run, when DeSantis runs, or if he runs, they're following along the same playbook. Okay? Now, you had Marjorie Taylor Greene knocked out of Twitter permanently and Facebook, I think, for a day because of misinformation. Okay? So you got American people misinforming the people to keep this thing going. In other words, to aid and help COVID. Marjorie Taylor Greene, to be precise. You got Rubio. You got DeSantis. And it's funny how all these guys are from southern states and they're all Republican. Okay? So history is repeating itself and they're following on Trump. Now, as recent as a week ago, O'Reilly and Trump had said that they had taken the vaccine and they got booed. But now there's a split among Trump supporters because now he's pushing or trying to get credit for the vaccine. Now, if he would have been a smart person, he would have been reelected if he would have kept on going. But he tried to rush this thing. I didn't trust. And my wife says, remember when you said that? I said, while Trump is, I said it back then. While Trump is in office, I don't trust him because he'll push it to the point that there isn't enough
research. So what I'm trying to say is that back to the playbook of Trump, with Marjorie Taylor Greene, all these people that are running or trying to keep and stay in Congress in office. So what do you think about that?
Here, that's the thing, is that they're doing everything possible to not only make sure that they hold their offices, but gain more seats, prevent people from being able to have access to the ballot. I have a lot of concerns. Hearing those numbers during the news break about how so many people just don't think that the insurrection was that big of a deal. All bets are off. All bets are off, Dave. I mean Roosevelt. Sorry.
Yeah, and the thing is that if we cannot get together, I don't know why, if we cannot get together on a pandemic as a country for the better of everybody,
right?
How are we going to get together on anything else? How can we reach across the line and have a conversation with the other side, because the other side is nuts. And as far as politics, we're back to the Roosevelt era, meaning you got narcissists that want to take over the country or want to stay in office. So it's so ridiculous. Can you imagine, of all the diseases that there are, where we would be if we didn't come together? And for the first time, we're coming together on a common enemy. And remember Trump said, I'm going to take care of this. I'm a president at war. I'm going to beat this. I'm going to beat this corona. And he didn't do nothing but put incompetent people.
Well, that was the thing too, and I don't know who was it. Jim that mentioned this in the last half hour about the nutters believing that I guess the Democrats released this virus in a lab in Wuhan or whatever it is. Right, but if it was an attack, if it was a virus, like a virus attack, if it was done on purpose in order to kill people, then why didn't they then? I mean, that's their big thing, is the military. Why didn't they then prove it? And that, which obviously would have been horrifying if they'd been able to do that, but they didn't even have the conviction of that ideology. They don't believe any of it. They just say it and manipulate people with fear and othering people and say it's somebody else's fault, not ours. We don't want to have, and making it other people's fault means you don't have to take responsibility, and you don't have to. You can continue to cause disbelief or cause people to think that it's not real, and prevent people from taking the steps necessary to save their own lives, if not those they love.
I never thought I would see the day when people create their alternative reality. Remember,
exactly. That's what I meant. All those words I used, that's what I meant.
Yeah, so, I mean, and here's the thing. I'm gonna say this, that everything the so-called Republican Party is based on lies. Even the fact that the election was stolen. Yeah, if the election is stolen, then why don't you push for more investigations so you find out how Biden stole the election? Simple as that.
Yeah, exactly. But they are, having all these battles in states across the country and finding that there isn't any evidence that the election was stolen, and that there are a couple of suspicious things. They found ballots that were illegally cast, but a lot of them turned out to be Republican ballots. Some people trying to vote twice for Trump, things like that. But you're right. If it was, and why just how is the Democrats can only overturn that election? Why wouldn't they overturn the ones that make an impact along the way, the easier ones, if that were the case? Man, weird. Yeah. We're only really good at the presidential election, apparently.
Yeah, but and here's the thing: we have to continuously repeat, and including yourself, and including Jonas Esposito, and everybody, Santita Jackson, and that is what Biden has done, because that's the big, in my opinion, that's a big error that the Democrats made. We have to toot our own horn, because Trump was doing it on a daily basis, as far as the stock market, as far as jobs, as far as the price of gas, the whole thing. Daily basis, he was saying that it's the greatest economy and all that. So I think that we got to continuously repeat the fact that Biden stopped the war, 20-year war that Bush started. Okay?
Yep.
So the Republicans mess it up, and the Democrats go in there with the mop and the bucket and clean it up.
Exactly.
So thank you very much, Patty. I've been on long enough rattling.
Here we go. Here, together, let's do this. Biden has accomplished a $1.9 trillion COVID relief deal, $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill, got 72% of American adults fully vaccinated, which, we were not on that route when President Trump was in office. I don't think it would have been 72% because he would have vacillated between, don't get vaccinated, you don't need it, and everyone needs to get vaccinated because I was the one that accomplished this. An economy where the unemployment rate has dropped to what, Roosevelt? 4.2%. So I think this is
I know that one. I know that one. That's since 1969, if I'm correct. Since 1969, it hasn't been 4.2%.
Right.
But that's the problem. That's the problem that we have. That a lot of Democrats, and that includes Pelosi, everybody should be saying the accomplishments of this administration in less than a year.
Right. Right.
Okay, so that's what I wanted to say. So thank you for giving me this time.
Absolutely, Roosevelt. Take care. I wanted to talk a little bit about Merrick Garland, who's going to have a press conference tomorrow, and I'm curious as to what you think he's going to talk about. We'll talk about. I guess we'll have to talk about it after the press conference. I want to let folks know that one of my favorite restaurants on the Northwest Side is taking steps to make sure that everybody is safe. And with everything changing, from a lot of restaurants are trying to figure out how to make sure that they follow the new guidelines from the city of Chicago where proof of vaccination is required. And so the Gale Street Inn has posted this today. As we read the tea leaves, we have decided to start 2022 as we began 2021 by rolling back to carry out only through January-ish, because we talked a few moments ago about how hopefully this will peak in late January. We go backwards to go forward. The reasons are multiple, and at the top of the list is our wanting to monitor the Vax card mandate that is beginning for our industry this week. Our goal is to train ourselves and develop protocols by watching the good and bad going on around us. We are making our indoor dining space available for private parties, and we'll be creating private dining experiences on select nights. So if you want to let restaurants know, if this is the way you would like to see any, changes or decisions kind of laid out there. This is what I was talking about earlier. Lay it out for folks. Explain what you're doing. That's what the principal of Griffin School has done, saying this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it, and this is what we hope to do. That's 1, 2, 3. This is what we're doing. Here's what's happening, and lay it out for folks. So Gale Street, thank you so much to Wendy for reminding me that she had won a gift card last week to the Gale Street, and I've got to connect you guys and make sure we get that gift card to you so you can order some carryout if you like, or when they return to in-person dining, you can do so then too. Go to galestreet.com. John, I'm sorry. Can you call back tomorrow? I'm already late. Lady B, I had to get to that last topic because I had it on my mind, and apparently I'm not going to get to 8-Bit Christmas either. We'll talk about inflation tomorrow. Would love to. I'm going to go home and do some homework on inflation. The Devil's Advocate is up next with Mike Crute. Thank you, Lady B. Have a lovely evening.
Hello, friends. This is Jason Bassell from Chicago Community Acupuncture at Milwaukee, Devon, and Nagel in Chicago. While the holidays are